Well, we got a reflection in here. We've done quite a few of these. So you can see we already got it all wrapped. When we get your coach in here, we wrap everything. Everything gets wrapped. So once we get all the coach protected, that's what I call it. We go in, we put all these drop pads in the side. They go everywhere to make sure we don't track anything in there. And then also you probably can't see it. Nope. Let's see if my flashlight will show that. No, but up in the ceiling, when you have your vents, we put blockers up in the vents so nothing drops down while we're working. I've seen a lot of these guys on YouTube. I wonder how they get things done without making more of a mess than when they started. They just don't protect the coach. They don't you know, put the blockers in there, like I said. So when we take that vent out, we already went inside and we put a blocker up there and make sure that nothing drops down inside the hole, you know. So you can actually see that one there. We got one in here. So that's how we do things. But this is your typical RV roof here. Put more on, and some morons already put more on. So you can see all the different colors here. I really try to stop that leak. And this is going to fail too. And then they want you to keep putting more on there. That doesn't make sense. So what they do, if this is the first time you're watching these videos, they exploit people's ignorance to roof systems. This is not the way to do a roof system at all. It's not the way. So we put a real commercial roof on, and we're going to put curbs on it. But this is just going to fail. So, but this is us so far. You can see all this stuff here. So we're going to obviously took the air conditioners off. We're starting to take everything apart, and then we're going to see what's up underneath it. All right, stay tuned for more excitement. Right on the set, you got video productions going on. So we got some route right here. Pretty common to have it here. That over there looks all right, but this one did not fare so well. I believe this is where the ladder was. So, and that's where you can see the 4 holes where they screw it down, even despite having all that slobber of self-leveling on it. So otherwise, everything that I can see over here doesn't look all so bad. Got some moisture that got in here. Another protrusion. So this is LSB oriented strand board. So we're going to obviously pull the decking up. I'm just showing you what the decking may look like right now. So this is it's not rotted right now, so that's a plus. And some of these other ones aren't. A lot of times we find that we get moisture inside around here, and these have all been rotted. So I don't know what year this is, but it was obviously starting down at that ladder for sure. So that's about us. So we're going to tear this up, and we'll check all the trunk lines, we'll check all the wiring, we'll check all that stuff, make sure it's all set, and then we put some new decking on it once we get it all done. But I'll show you what it looks like underneath. Alrighty, so we got the roof off, or the decking, and now we got this little spot here. We already knew that was there, and it's fine. It's not compromised, but we're going to squirt some mold kill on there just the same. So we're going to soak that a little bit. Now the other thing we're doing is going around, making sure everything is all taped up well. That's what we're doing now. Added a few more licks around here and around there. We're going to double check everything yet again afterwards and make sure we got it. That's what we're doing over here. Adding some more, and then also the other thing we're doing is adding these little, we just put these little, all it is a little piece of metal, and we just tape it in there, because these are foam, and they start to compromise right here, and then it'll cause a hole, and then all the air is coming up in here. Well, that one's down in there, but it'll just sit like that. That's all it does. The wires sit on there, and we just tape everything together so they don't move, you know. So that's how that works. See how you have a hole right here? I already got air coming up through here, and this is why we take them apart and and we redeck it. And also, it's not glued. You need to glue these down. Once you glue it down, it adds a lot of strength because these things want to rack and twist and flex, and all that energy has to go somewhere, and it's going to go into the fasteners, and then the fasteners loosen up. When the fasteners loosen up, then you got caulking that loosens up, and then you just got a dog chasing its tail, basically. And the other thing we want to check is electrical wires. And on some coaches, the wires go down through the wall, but on these ones, it looks like it goes down through these ports in the center. I didn't see any over there, any wires going down there, but sometimes on different models, like they got this one here, and there's that one there has a piece of tubing in there, so we're going to put a little piece of plastic in there because it's probably sharp in there, and I don't want it to compromise this wire. And this thing keep doing this over the years, and then eventually, you know, if it gets rubbed too much and chafed out, then it may short out. And how do you fix it? You got to chase the thing and try to diagnose it and all this stuff. So there's another one on the other side. See if the camera will pick that one up right in there. So we're going to put some bushings in there, and they're just plastic bushings. So when I say these RV industry will not spend one more red cent, these little bushings are about a penny, and even with inflation, they may be a penny and a half. I don't think they're two, but they won't spend it. They won't spend it. They just want to get it built, get it out, get it sold. This is a Grand Design reflection, so they that's what this one is, by the way. You can see the way the ceiling is. That's looks like it might have falling down there. We'll see if we can get inside and push that up on there. That's what I'm looking at, that gap. And then we'll see how far the next truss goes. If the next truss is like way in there, there's not much we can do. If we took all this out, we're not going to be able to get back there to get, you know, we're not going to be able to get back in there. We'd have to take the cap off. So we'll investigate that and we'll see how that is before we start just willy-nilly cutting it. So if I can figure a plan out for it. I'd like to take it off, but I want to see what's up underneath there before I do, and then end up poking something that, you know, poking a bear that don't need to be poked, so to speak. Alrighty, so let's see, you go around the other side. We got some solar going on here. So that's just a regular, that's just a hole, so that's okay. I just want to make sure there wasn't a bushing or a ferrule. That's what those are called. The metal ones that go in there, they're called ferrules. Look at this here. All of these, they missed all the trusses. A lot of them. These ones here, a couple more over there. Almost got shish kebab. There's another one. So, but like I said, that's what we're looking for. And we got to do a wire drop down into there's a storage bin right about where I'm at. And that's somewhere in here we're going to do a drop so he can put his solar together. So I'm sure this is another, there's no ferrule in there. I doubt that. Usually they have them on the 12 volt, excuse me, on the 120, not on the 12 volt. This is just a hole they drill right here, see? That's just tape on there. So that one's fine. But like I said, we want to check all the trunk lines as well. And again, make sure they're all taped up really good. And again, protect all of this nonsense. See how it's already grooving in there? And I'm sure they know this stuff happens. You know, that one's dug in pretty good over on that side. Alrighty, well, let us get it all taped up, and then we'll start getting those wires dropped and start getting some decking on here. Alright, we got the decking going down. Got all the insulation back, made all our repairs. So we got all that going on, and now we're just stapling it all up. We got our glue, we're gluing her down. You see how much glue we got up underneath there? So we're getting her set. Well, we got this section all glued down. We've got that. You can see some of maybe the little ripples underneath there. That's the protective strips we put underneath there. But now we're trying to get all this. We have to do it in pieces, and I'm going to have to weld all this. But we got our strips down on the edge here. And this is protecting the roofing from the siding that comes up in the roofing, excuse me, the decking, so it doesn't chafe it. So we got those all on there, and then we're gonna get this applied here. And right now what we're doing over here is just wiping it all down, get all the dust off. Glue don't stick to the dust. And then once we get this one done, we got one more piece up front right there. We gotta get that one too. So once we get all that, we'd be good to go. We can start welding it all together. All right, we're done with our reflection. Ready to roll. We're cleaning it up so it looks real pretty. Get it ready for the prom. So we got our RVRI. We put the date and everything on here because you know, we want to be able to inspect it. We want to know how old the roof is. That's basically what we do. You can see we got everything all done. We got solar panels on here, all that jazz. I'll show you that in a second. But first off, I want to thank the customer for bringing it to us. We appreciate the work. And now on with the review here. If this is the first one you've seen that we've done, we've got a whole bunch of them on there, probably a couple hundred different ones. And there's all different types of coaches, so you could probably do a search on the channel for whichever coach you have if you're curious to know, you know, how we go about it. But anyhow, we've got all of these are boots right here, and those that actually prop up the vent, those are called curbs. And if you were to get on like DuckDuckGo, Brave, or even Google, whatever you want, get on the internet, you can punch in a search for flat roof images. And if you look at those images, you will see that the air conditioners, you'll see that the vents, you'll see all these things up, elevated off the roof line on what's called a curb. So my background, I'm a commercial contractor by trade, general contractor by trade, and I designed the roof system to form and function properly for an RV. You can't buy all these, so I make every single one of these components. So these are boots right here, and you'll see like plumbing or pipes or wires on a commercial end. You'll see them in a boot like that with a sealer, just like we have here. So as you're climbing and this thing moves around, it's still going to stay sealed. It's pretty common to see the ends of these rot right in the corners here because of the way they just mount it to the roof and they slobber it with self-leveling. And then what happens is the water will trickle down like here. This is the same mount that's up inside here, but the water would trickle down and get in there, and then you get, you know, some rot that going on, right? And then the ladder gets loose. So the roof system itself is a 60 mil commercial grade TPO. It's thermoplastic. Great system, and easily patchable, super durable. I'll show you a sample of it in a bit, but it's a 60-year. The roof material in itself is a 20-year material membrane. So that means that the material itself is warranted for 20 years. That's how they all work. Dicor, all of them work the same exact way. They will warranty the material, so they don't know who's installing and who's doing all this. So they don't do a labor warranty on that. So that's what's important, is whoever you have put your roof on, you want to make sure you've got some other warranty to back it up. I mean, great. Now, if the material doesn't last 20 years, then you could go, hey, so-and-so, whoever the manufacturer is, in this case, this is Carlisle, you could say, hey, it failed. And they'll probably come out and go, hey, here's some more, and they're not going to pay you to put it on. But what we do is we want the customer to come back. Initially, I like to see it come back about 30 days, stretch it to maybe 60, but I really want to see it because this is new, it's fresh, and these things rack and twist and flex so much. I have other reflections that we've done, but my point is that the other reflections would rack, twist, and flex differently than even this one, being the same year, same model, same make, everything. So that being said, that's just the physics of things. So I want to make sure everything is okay after the initial inspection. Then you can come back once a year. That's what we do. You come back once a year, we do another inspection, and they're free. So, it's just a matter of you bringing it back. It took a lot of work to put this together. I wouldn't want to do it again, and I certainly wouldn't want anybody else to have to do it again. So that's why I want to be able to see it. So if there's something there that we can catch early, I want to do that before it turns into something, okay? So all that said, we've got the curbs here. Again, this is all heat welded, so you don't have all that caulking like they put on here, all that self-leveling. We don't use all that. Now, obviously, the vents are sealed, but everything is all elevated, and I built in a counter flash that's on there. That counter flash is important because as the water is coming down the roof line, it will prevent it from hopping up over into the curb. So it basically gives it another traffic lane. If you don't have it, and again, that's the way they do it, the RVs manufacturers, they just put it right down to the roof and put caulking on. You end up with what's called an erosion effect, and you want to try to minimize that as much as possible. That's why it will start to, that's one reason what would cause it to fail. But the other reason on why they fail on an RV is because they just use crap material. That's just it. So I know Dicor has their own lap sealant. I'm not a proponent of it at all. It always fails. All the lap sealant will fail, and they'll tell you to put it on every 3 to 4 months. That is ridiculous. And I know I've poked fun at it, and I say the only one's putting more on is a moron, because there's something wrong with it. You don't go around your house and reseal your windows every 3 or 4 months. And imagine if you had a big plant like Pepsi or Coke or Hershey's or whatever, an automotive plant. You know, you've got a whole bunch of these curbs. And the roof systems that have, you know, all the detail in them, of course, but they add up to anywhere from 65, maybe 70% of the actual roof cost. So that being said, they're not going to put all this on there and then every 3 or 4 months have someone go back and reseal it. You'd never finish up one end before you come around, you're starting it all over again, especially on some of these that are like acres and acres of roof systems. So that's just not the right way to do a roof. So all of these have the same counter flash, even the air conditioner. We put some stands on the back of the air conditioner. It just gives it balance. So we did that. And then it's also got a, this has, so this is what's called, I'm going to back it up. This is a counter flash right here. Okay, that's on the curb. Now this one is still another form of a counter flash. So if I don't put that there, up underneath here is a foam gasket. So now the water comes down, the wind's blowing, it's going to push it back into that gasket. I don't want it hitting that gasket. So this goes underneath the cover to push it below the counter flash that's on the curb, so the water will come this way instead of trying to make contact with that foam gasket. So that's the purpose of that. And then again, you can see it's all heat welded in there, so you're done. That's it. Got all of these, and you can see the way we do these, we put more of a gasket on there. It's kind of heavy on here, but this is actually a thick frame, so it's actually making it look more. This frame is probably a little better than a quarter of an inch thick on here, so that's why it's making the caulking look like it's really thick. But anyhow, we also put some solar on here, so we got it mounted up on a rail. We've got these boots. There's a bolt that goes down that's, you can see, and those are all galvanized. So we secured them there. We secured everything all together. And then he's going to wire all this up himself. That's the way he's going to do it. So we'll get that all together for him where he can just go right ahead and get it done himself. He has this antenna on here that we, again, put another mount on. And then we've got some plumbing. That's a plumbing over there. And again, all of these are all sealed. So that plumbing, that's what that is, a plumbing. So if that cap falls off for whatever reason, a branch grabs it, if it did, then that would just leak into the coach holding tanks. That's all it'll go. This one, however, this is a vent. It's not a plumbing vent, it's a vent for the skylight. So a lot of times you'll have rot that'll come around here, and what it is that when in the morning when the dew sits up on here, the sun will come up and evaporate it off. But when the dew is on here, it's also on the underside, on the inside of this. So now the sun will evaporate this, but what's up on the underside will tend to condensate, and it'll roll down on the inside, and then it gets around inside the roof deck. And then when the roof deck can't hold anymore, it'll soak into the frame. When the frame can't hold anymore, then it'll go into the ceiling panel. And that moisture is just getting trapped in there, and again, the moisture will obviously condensate, return to a leak, right? And people say, hey, I got a leak. It's not really a leak per se, it's condensation. So what I did is I designed, this is a solar fan. So when the sun comes up to evaporate this off, that solar fan's going to kick on, and it draws from here, and we put a channel in here. There's a piece of ductwork going inside here, and that ductwork, this will pull, and there's an inner lens, so it'll go up over the inner lens, underneath this lens, and then it'll get pulled back out. That's what that is. So it keeps constant circulation of air going in there to make sure that the moisture is getting evacuated out, right? So you can see on this air conditioner we did the same thing with the counter flash. It's got the same stands on there. And all of this, we have 2 strikes going along here. So this is sealed, this gutter is sealed on here. And then once we seal the gutter on, then we put a strike of caulking. Once we put that caulking on, wait for it to cure, we put yet another strike of caulking. So if you've ever run a caulking gun, you start squeezing along, you'll hear it pop and crackle, you just injected an air bubble. So, and it doesn't matter the brand, they're all the same. They get dispensed into the cylinders and the little cartridges the same way. Just the quality is better, of course, on the better ones and the most expensive ones. But my point is, you still have that air bubble. So now this thing is going down the road, racking, twisting, flexing, and then that breaches. Now you got potentially you've got a leak. So we always put 2 strikes. We put two strikes over it to make sure we don't have that issue. So nice clean strikes too. So I think they look pretty well. All right. So like I said, so if this pops off, take that cap, put it on, or put tape on this, because it will leak. If it rains, it will leak into the coach. That is a fact. So there's not much we can do about it. I mean, I would find it hard for a branch to grab, at least that one on this coach, but some of the other ones are a little different. So that's what's good about having all the scaffold. You can walk right around. So we've got all these rails, so you can see we bolted everything down. They got lock washers and everything on there, and then we obviously bolted all the solar on there. So, and now again, all these boots here, I custom make everything in here, and then these are secured inside to the roof deck. So this isn't going anywhere. All right, and this is 16 gauge galvanized steel, so I don't think it's going anywhere either. It take a lot to pull it. So then over here by by your antenna, same thing. I built a curb, still got that flashing on there, and again, the water will come up and get redirected. If it's a heavy rain, it'll get redirected instead of jump up on it. So that's about us on the overview, and I'll show you this is the roofing right here. So this is what's called 60 mil. See if that'll focus in a little better. Give me a second. There we go. So this is a 60 mil. You can see the little squares in there. There's a mesh built in it. It's a weave that they put in there, a nylon weave. That gives it strength against hail and tree branches. And if it did get a tree branch in it, and there was a hole in the roof, of course, from whatever, then we could just do a hot patch on it. But that's what this is. It's just a scrim that's built in it. So again, this is all commercial. This is the same exact material you're going to find on a hospital. You're going to find it on a restaurant, office building, library. Same exact material. I buy it from the same supply houses. So like I said, I just modified everything so they work and function properly on an RV. So lastly, we replaced all the insert trim right here that goes in the gutter, and this is it here. I'm going to show you on what they use on the RVs is this cheap plastic stuff that you can see it sliding. So as the gutter is sitting up on the coach right here, you can see water can get down in that channel, and I try to get as much water to go somewhere else than where it doesn't need to be. So this that we use, it's got a little groove in it, and that little groove sits in that track, and it seals it from the top. Well, if I flip the gutter over, it seals it from the top and on the bottom, so the water will just roll right out into the gutter, and it won't get down inside this little skinny little track right here and travel, like just even moisture. So now that the gutter is on, we seal every single screw. In fact, you can see we got some sealant around there. This was an extra piece. So, but we seal every single screw. Has a grommet, basically a caulking grommet all around it on everything. That's just the way we do it. So keep in mind that these are not DIY videos. We don't do DIY videos. They're not tutorials. We put a lot of these together for the customers so they can see all the work we did for them. But we also, you know, some customers or potential customers like to see the type of work we do. So that's what we're showing. There's a lot of stuff we do behind the scenes that we just don't have the time to record or to show. These videos would be extremely long. Also, we don't quote on social media. So if you're interested in some pricing or whatever, you're going to have to give us a call. And we'd be glad to help you out with your coach. And that's about it. So we appreciate y'all watching. We'll see you on the next one. So in our care package, we have caulking, we got primer, we have got 2 patches. Those are heat patches. We got a patch peel and stick pack. We got a checker tool. We've got a magnet. And the rest of this is just pens, keychains, brush, nozzle. Okay, so if we have a hole in the roof, it will simulate a hole. You can do hole simulations. We say we got a hole there. Here's your tree branch come through, and you're like, oh man, I got a hole in my roof, it's leaking. So what you want to do? And it's raining out. Right now it's raining. You're like, crap, I gotta stop that leak.
You want to get in there, and if you can't get that nozzle in there, don't worry about it. Make it a little bigger. What you try and do, you need to get up underneath the roofing, like this. This is what we need to do, get up underneath the roofing. Then you're going to take and you're going to put this up inside there, and you're going to squeeze, 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 squeeze. Hopefully this thing is plugged up. There it goes. You squeeze, squeeze. You're going to try and get up underneath this part too. Squeeze up underneath there. Get some more underneath there. Well, we are getting this thing all boogered up. Then what we're going to do, you're going to push it together. See how it oozes out? That's sealed. You're done. This is a moisture cured product. So what? It's a hot mess. Looks terrible. Who cares? Keep the water out. So now, the next day, we're going to go up there, and that's going to be cured looking like that. So we're going to take a knife, and you just shave it down. Just shave it down with a knife. I'm just going to obviously wipe this off. Now you say, hey, I want something a little better than that. So what we're going to do is get some cleaner. This is a terrible rag. You got another one. You got one on you? Oh, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag, get a rag. Hey, what are you doing? What are you going to talk about, man? Nope, just leave it alone. Oh, leave it alone right now. We're recording now? Are we on?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Alright, so now we cleaned it off with a knife. I just washed that off because it's still wet. Take that off. So now we got a patch. This is a peel and stick patch. We're going to take that, we're going to center it over there. Just take a pen and go around like this. I like to kind of put a dash like that so I know who's where, what, and where, and how. So now there's what I got. So in the package we got primer. We also have a brush. You're going to take that, you're going to go all inside the square. You're also going to go outside this square about 3/8 of an inch. Outside about 3/8 of an inch or so. Once you get that, there's a film on the back. You peel the film, now you know which side you are, see, because there's your marks. And you peel that film back. Get the fingers in there to get the film off of this thing. This is just a regular roof tape. That's all it is. We put them in all the care packages. Get that daggone thing off of there. Probably need some fingernails. Probably help. Come on. There it is. Okay. There it is. Now you got the film. You take that film. So now we're going to line it back up with this. We already got the primer under there. You just peel the film back, and as you do, you just rub it down like this. Sometimes that film will get a little stuck in there. This is just a butyl. You just kind of try to keep it as even as you can and flat as you can. Boom, you're done. There it is. So now, out here, this is where your primer is. You put the primer on there. You got primer there, and now you're going to put primer here. You want to prime all this area with your brush. Prime all that. Then you're going to come back. Once you get it all primed, then you're going to put a little bit of caulking on it, just like this. That's simple. It doesn't all sit in there. You can always take your finger and go around it if you want. We're trying to obviously stop a leak and make one of. There's going to be a little more permanent of a patch than just that plug that we did when it was raining. So now that we get that all done, the whole purpose of it is this part here. This part underneath here, that's a butyl. When the sun hits that, if you didn't have the caulking on there, it will cause it to release and curl up just like I'm doing here. And it'll start coming loose. That's why you need the primer. That's why when you prime it, you're going to prime on top of this because nothing will stick to it. Nothing, the caulking will not stick to this patch, and it won't stick to the roof unless you use the primer. That's how you do a patch. Ta-da! All done.